for joining me today. We are going to be looking at when Jonathan has to defend David to his father Saul. Today's hymn, it's the hymn God is Love.
Come, let us all unite to sing God is love. Let heaven and earth their praises bring. God is love. Let every soul from sin awake, each in his heart sweet music make, and sing with us for Jesus' sake, for God is love. God is love. God is love. Come, let us all unite to sing that God is love.
The passage we're going to look at is in 1 Samuel 19, verse 1. Now Saul spoke to Jonathan his son and to all of his servants that they should kill David, but Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted greatly in David. So Jonathan told David, saying, My father seeks to kill you. My father Saul seeks to kill you. Therefore, please be on your guard until morning and stay in a secret place and hide. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are, and I will speak with my father about you. Then what I observe I will tell you. Thus Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul his father, and said to him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he has not sinned against you, and because his works have been very good towards you. For he took his life in his hands and killed the Philistine, and the Lord brought you a great deliverance for all and the Lord brought about a great deliverance for all Israel. You saw it and rejoiced. Why then will you sin against innocent blood to kill David without a cause? So Saul heeded the voice of Jonathan, and Saul swore, As the Lord lives, he shall not be killed. Then Jonathan called David, and Jonathan told him all these things. So Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was again in his presence as in times past. Okay, points I wanted to make is here as Jonathan speaks to his father, and it takes courage to do this. We'll probably dwell on this a good bit. It takes courage to speak, for Jonathan to speak to his father, the king. Now, what's Jonathan say? Do not sin. Don't sin like this. There in verse 4. Don't sin. And people need to be reminded of that. They need to be reminded about what the works of the flesh are and the fruit of the Spirit. And Saul, you can tell throughout the account, Jonathan doesn't understand he doesn't understand it. It's like, what are you doing? Because he says, don't sin against David because he hasn't sinned against you. Like, why are you doing this? I was thinking about this idea. Sometimes in the sports world, to use an analogy, sometimes athletes will, and they talk about it with certain ones, that they will actually imagine their opponents have wronged them somehow. And they will actually, and it's just pure imagination, that they talk about it with Michael Jordan, that he would actually come up with these ideas that his opponents had somehow wronged him, and that created this fire in his belly where he wanted, and he felt like he needed that to have that competitive edge. And it was just like I said, an exercise of his imagination. Saul, this distressing spirit that's in Saul, Jonathan is saying, he hasn't sinned against you. Why are you trying to kill him? He hasn't sinned against you. He's done good for you. He actually took his own life in his own hands and killed the Philistine. His works have been very good towards you. And the Lord brought about a great deliverance for all Israel. You saw it and you rejoiced. And Saul saw it and rejoiced until he heard that song sung by the women. And then he eyed David from that day forward. And as these things are progressing, it's like he sees the writing on the wall, perhaps, that the Lord is with David. I think we actually read a verse somewhat like that, a little bit earlier than this. But regardless, God is love. And Jonathan loves David. Jonathan loves David because David's following the Lord. And Jonathan is trying to get his father to see this, and to not hate David without a cause, and to not be angry with David without a cause, and to not sin against David in this. And so Jonathan, he's a good man, a good friend, a brother to David. And those are the sorts of people we need to be, because they're actually imitating God. God is love. Yes, there is a time in Proverbs that talks about the things that God detests, those who sow discord amongst brethren being one of them. But our God is a loving God. The Lord loves us, and we need to live our lives in such a way that it manifests that love. If we just love those who love us, what do we do more than anybody else? But by loving our enemies, we are actually like our Father in heaven. I consider that and what David's going to do with Saul, sparing him, the man after God's own heart, David, that is. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our daily praise.